Good morning. Oh, good morning. Got a rock and roll voice this morning. Welcome to Friday. Wherever we are, January. Wow, January 2023. Where did last year go? I have no idea. But the first Friday morning chat of 2023, we're here. I was going to say we're fresh and vibing, but we're not because it's January.
I have to tell them.
No, because it's January. January so far has been very frustrating. We've had quite a lot of niggles in the beginning of January, but we've finished with that now. Onwards, upwards. Good morning, Dee. Good morning, Lizzie. Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Christine. Yes, Happy New Year to you too, Jane. Pete is here. He's working. Eric is. Yeah, he's asleep under the pile of blankets. Good morning, Claire. And welcome to Friday. Good morning, Karen. Thank you so much for joining me again, everyone, and for your support, continued support. Good morning, Janet. Good morning, Cos from the Ford garage whilst Frank the Tank is being serviced. So many comments. Good morning, Angela. Welcome to Friday. Good evening, Sephora. Good morning, Patricia. Happy New Year to you from East Yorkshire. Very nice place. Very nice part of the world. Good morning, Louise. Good morning, Karen. Welcome to 2023. Yes, we've had a few niggly problems this week, but that stops here and now. Everything's been smudged. Candles have been lit. Offerings have been made. Let's move forward now. Thank you very much. Good morning, Marianne. Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Louise. Wow, lots of lovely people. Good morning, Trudy. And good morning, Xenia. Happy New Year to everyone. Happy new calendar year. January is just a, hibernation month. I'll start putting things in action in February. But it is the new calendar year. It is sunny today too. It's cold and crisp and even, but it's sunny. So I had an interesting few comments recently that's inspired today's subject. Good morning, Sue. Janet thought I was the only one feeling a little frustrated. No, we've had nothing major, thankfully, touch wood, but lots of kind of annoying, frustrating things in the last few days. So we're going to turn it around now. Turn it around. Good morning, Colin. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Caroline. So good morning, Tess. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me, all you lovely people. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Angela. Good morning, Corrigan. Good morning, Jay. Oh, so many people. You guys are fab. I think today's question should be interesting. I posted it on the Kitchen Witch Coven Facebook group earlier in the week just to see what happens. But the question is, what makes you a witch? And it was kind of inspired by a few questions where people asked me, if you don't work spells, can you be a witch? If you don't work with crystals, can you be a witch? If you don't work with the moon, can you be a witch? And I kind of thought perhaps we should be looking at what we do that makes us a witch, rather than saying, if I don't work with this, am I a witch? What is it that you do that makes you a witch? And that's today's question. We'll see where it takes us. Christine's popping to YouTube. Yeah, if Facebook's playing up, hop over to YouTube. For some reason, it seems to be more stable. I have no idea why. It's the same internet connection, but there you go. Good morning, Kathy. Good morning, Gail. Good morning, Deb. Good morning, Kat. Good morning, Georgia. Good morning, Annette. Wow. Loads of people this morning. Fantastic. Welcome. So there's the question. What makes you a witch? If you've got any thoughts, insights, answers, pop them in the comments and we will get them up on the screen. I think probably the first thing to cover is the difference between witchcraft and paganism, because they are different. Perhaps Wicca as well, differences. So technically, witchcraft is a magical practice. So you can work witchcraft no matter what faith, religion, beliefs you have. Paganism is the religion. Now, I am a pagan witch because I follow the pathway of paganism. I work with the old gods, but I also work witchcraft. So I call myself a pagan witch. I kind of think there are two groups of thought about whether witchcraft is a religion or not. Technically, it is a magical practice, but I know some people do think of being a witch as their religious path. And actually, I kind of agree with that. Being a witch is who I am. It's how I live my life. It is my faith, my everything that I do. But technically, paganism is the religious side of it. Wicca, however, is classed as a religion, but not all witches are Wiccan. Although my training started in Wicca, I'm not Wiccan. So it's kind of a bit confusing and a bit of a mixed bag. And paganism is such a huge umbrella as well. And witchcraft is such a huge umbrella as well. I'm not sure there's actually a definitive answer to today's question. In fact, I'm pretty sure there isn't a definitive answer. I just thought it would be interesting for people to kind of share your thoughts on it and see where it takes us. Good morning, Eva. Angela, that's a biggie. It is a big question. As I say, I don't think there's actually a definitive answer, and I don't think there's a right or a wrong answer either. I just thought it would be interesting to get some of them out there. Caroline, no, I'm different from the rest of my family. Yeah, my family's all weird, Caroline. In a good way. Let's get some of these off. Corrigan, if you feel that you're a witch, is it that simple? Yes and no. Yeah, absolutely. But why would you call yourself a witch? Why would you want to be a witch? What does that witch mean to you? There's, interesting. Get them out there. Let's see where we go with it. Because for me, it's walking your own path, freedom of your own thoughts and ideas, deeper connection with nature than most people, spiritual connection in whatever form works for you. I think nature seems to be a baseline for it all. Most witches do have that really strong connection with nature. If anybody asks me what I do as a witch or what a witch means, I will usually lead with the nature thing. We have a very strong connection to nature. We live in harmony with the seasons, with the planet, with the turning of the wheel, with all of the creatures on the planet. But then so do druids. So what makes a witch different from a druid? It's huge subject. Huge subject. Good morning, Maria. Welcome back, Chris. Xenia, for me, it's being in connection with insert the forces and entities you believe in and work with, and manifest positive outcomes for your life according to your intention, no matter what methods you use. Yes, I kind of think that is part of it. Is as a witch, we manipulate energy in whatever form, whether it turns into healing or making life better for other people or ourselves, or making changes. Manipulating energy in some form. Angela, I see witchcraft as a spiritual path rather than a religious one, but that's just my humble opinion. I do agree with you, Angela, although, as I say, technically, witchcraft is a magical practice. Is it the pathway of a witch that's a spiritual, religious one? I don't know. There is no right or wrong answers here. But yes, I like the description of spiritual rather than religious. That's good. Oh, Sephora's been in an earthquake. That's not fun. I hope you're okay. I'm just reading down these comments. Maria, couldn't put a name to it. Maybe that's not the name. Maybe there isn't one. Do you know, I think that's the other thing, isn't it? We do seem to be quite hung up with labels as a human race. We like labels. We like to be put in little boxes. Not physically. little boxes. Help, let me out. Get back in your box.
Put me in a box. Help.
I'd need a bigger box for you than a little one.
Big box. Stop being sizes.
Put the kettle on. Stop.
I was just going to say I'm about to get asked for a drink, aren't I? I'm just going to put the kettle on. Anyone want one?
We do like labels, don't we? And I think even within the witch label, we add to it. I mean, I do call myself a pagan witch. I call myself a pagan kitchen witch, pagan hedge witch sometimes. I am kind of a bit of a mixture of all sorts of things. There are all these different labels. And maybe having a label makes us feel welcome, make us feel safe, secure. I don't know. It did take me a very, very long time before I was comfortable using the W word. I'd been studying and learning witchcraft for probably a couple of years before I actually felt comfortable calling myself a witch. But, you know, different for everyone. Caroline, I agree with Corrigan. The witch thing has followed me for years and it's taken till now to feel comfortable with it. Yes. Revering nature, connecting with the land and the cosmos. Yeah. But again, druids do that. Lots of spiritual people do that. What kind of makes it different? I don't know. Don't have all the answers. Lizzie, I like to refer to myself as a pagan. In particular, I like the definition of country dweller, which is the original meaning of pagan. I do spell work, protection, and definitely acknowledge the changing face of nature. Yep. Jane, nature as a baseline is how I see it too, and it's reaching into the liminal and beyond that makes me feel witchy. Now, that's an interesting one, Jane. Yes, I do absolutely agree with you there. Is it that a witch walks that line, that hedge between the worlds? Is that something that makes it more of a witch than just someone that loves nature? Or, you know, so many different options. Xenia, for me, the word witch has the magical aspect to it. Practicing magic, creating desired outcomes, as opposed to paganism. One can be a pagan and just worship the deities without practicing magic. Yes, I agree with you, Xenia. I do agree with you. For me, witch has that magic aspect to it. Whether it is that other world side of it, whether it is working with energy for whatever reason. Yes, I think so. I think it has that magical aspect to it. Corrigan, I'm very similar to you. Started in Wicca, consider myself a pagan witch. Love nature, turning of the seasons. I love spells, and I also always resonated with the witches in fairy tales as a kid. We can learn an awful lot from the fairy tales, particularly the original versions, not the Disney ones, the Grimm type ones, because they've got a lot of meaning to them. Lizzie, additionally, I prefer to work with my intuition rather than an established practice. Oh, always trust your intuition, always. Often finding after my intuition led me to an established practice. The times that I haven't trusted my intuition have been the times where I've fallen flat on my face. Always trust your intuition, definitely to be encouraged. Univ.
Are you all right over there?
Yeah, I'm trying to pronounce this name. I do apologise. Witchcraft is a more honest religion than the big religions. In witchcraft, we are aware that fellow humans can punish us. Let's not think only about positive spells. Oh, well, I don't. You know, if you read any of my books, you'll know that I write about cursing, binding, and to me, a witch is grey. We walk that line between the white and the black, between the light and the dark. Yeah, absolutely. I I wouldn't ever just think about the positive. There's always two sides to everything, and usually more. I don't know about honest religion. I think that was one of the things that witchcrafters say isn't a religion. Technically, it's paganism. That's the religion. When I first jumped onto this bandwagon over 30 years ago now, I thought how wonderful it would be that everyone revered nature, looked after each other, and how wonderful it would be, and that there would never be any arguments or horrible people. I was wrong, because at the baseline, we're all human beings. Is it more honest religion than the big religions? I think it's down to the person. And it's down to the person rather than the religion as a whole. Yeah, we're gonna have a disagreement here, Uni. I see you do not mention that in witchcraft you can do good and evil alike. You obviously haven't read my books or any of my blogs, so go and have a look. Colin, got a bit of a cold this morning. Oh, do stay warm and safe, Colin, definitely. Chai latte, Tess. Yeah, definitely. We have got chai latte. Actually, we've got spiced plum chai latte. It's very nice. Xenia, yesterday I attended a Zoom talk with Ronald Hutton about how paganism in and outside academia evolved, and sometimes I was unsure if he and the others just mean pagans or witches. Pagans, the ones working within a pagan religion. Witches, people who also practice magic. They are two different labels. Yes, they are. And I think that's kind of part of today, really, and the subject today. You can be a witch and not pagan. You can be a pagan and not a witch. So there are so many labels and so many different areas of it, which is why I do generally say I am a pagan witch, because I do work with the pagan religion, live it. And I also practice magic. So, yeah, interesting. Thank you for that, Xenia. Tea with skim milk. Yeah, Pete has skim milk, Rhea. It's just coloured water, really. Caroline, in the old days, witches wouldn't call themselves a witch. Ordinary people called them that. Well, they were wise folk, weren't they? They were wise men, wise women. They lived on the edge of the village. People still went to them when they wanted cures or curses or whatever it was they needed. Witch used to be a bit of a slur. They were quite a big slur, really. I think we've reclaimed that, hopefully. Thank you. Keep me the coffee. You're doing your ghost impression.
Yeah. Well, it's witchy, isn't it?
It's not witchy. What you like.
I was joining in. Gail, I've only just realised I might be a witch, even though I am self-taught. Do not discount being self-taught, Gail. That's where I started. I use herbs, I use crystals, I do spells, and I can heal using Reiki and reflexology. I'm not sure where I fit. This is it, isn't it? This is the not really known. So reflexology is my favourite holistic therapy. I would have that every day if I could afford it. I'm a Reiki master teacher as well, but I don't think that makes me a witch, because there are Reiki practitioners that aren't witches. There are people that work with crystals that aren't witches, crystal therapists, crystal healers, people that just love crystals, but don't necessarily work with witchcraft. I use herbs. One of my favourite areas to work with. Medicinal herbalists, though, are not necessarily witches. There are lots of medicinal herbalists who aren't witches. So it's kind of a real mix and match, and ultimately how you feel, really. But yes, only you can make the decision, I think. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with being self-taught, Gail. Nothing wrong with that at all. Christine, my dad was very much into paganism, although it was never admitted, and it kind of followed suit with me. From being a child, I always knew I was different. I pledged myself in my own ritual initially, but have been initiated so many times now. This could be my story, Christine. But I would always sing chants as a child while stirring pots when cooking. Down the bottom of the garden I was, with a big pot of mud and herbs.
Mum always told me off for doing witchcraft. I would always be in the fields and woods. Even as a child, I would be off on my own journeys. You and me both, Christine. Yeah. My dad, I learned a lot from my dad when I was young. I was always down the garden with him or out walking, and he used to take us to all of the ancient sites. Yeah, influence, definitely. Lizzie, mind you, I was called witch when I was a teenager. But yeah, people use it as an insult, don't they? Patricia, eclectic is a good balance. Yes, it's a weird word, eclectic, isn't it? I do often tend to myself as being miscellaneous. You've got to pick and mix things. Because pagan seems to be more acceptable to people than saying you are a witch. Oh, absolutely. Probably thanks to history and the media. If I'm being asked by anyone that I know doesn't have any knowledge of it, I often lead with the word pagan. And then we go from there, because pagan seems to be more acceptable. And funny enough, druid seems to be less frightening than when you use the word witch too, which is always interesting. Good morning, Maharet. Hi, Diane. Couldn't get on Facebook. Oh, it's one of those weeks, Diane, honestly. I'm glad you got here. Kerry, I see myself as an eclectic and work with whatever feels right at the time, be it crystals, moon phases, candles, etc. Pick and mix which. Yep, my pathway has many turnings, many crossroads, and an amazing amount of rabbit holes. Yeah, I'm with all of that, Kerry. With you on all of that. Louise, I seem to remember reading witch is close to a Saxon word meaning wise. I'm an aromatherapist and next will be studying herbal medicine. I feel it's plant knowledge a lot for me, using plants for healing and protection. That's what herbalists do. And it, very incredibly useful. It all is too. Yeah, the ancient wise men and wise women of the village would have worked with herbs. That's where we get a lot of the knowledge from. Good morning, Rob. 2 sugars, please, Pete. And Rob likes a bucket with his tea in it.
A bucket with it or a bucket of
yeah,
it?
Bucket of tea.
Oh,
None
right.
of these small. Actually, these cups aren't bad, Rob. You might be right. One
We
of
can
those.
give you a small cup and a bucket separately, and that's
Yeah.
all right.
Ruth likes the term wild woman. Oh, I like that. Yes. Yeah, it is. I guess it's what you're comfortable with. Yes, absolutely. Maria, it's a feeling also, a feeling that you're not in this world, but can't put my finger on where the hell I am. I feel like that quite a lot. I feel like that quite a lot. Xenia, I learned that a lot of witches refer to themselves as pagans when they talk to non-involved people. Yes, ordinary people would react negatively to the word witch, so the non-threatening label pagan was used. Yes, and I've done it myself. I have done it myself. It seems to be that word's not so scary. Karen, for me, it's working with the elements and energies rather than just appreciating and understanding them. Yeah, I'll go with that. Absolutely. Energy for me is the base of all of it, really, I think. Whether you are outside connecting with the energy of a tree, or inside working with magical food, or connecting with a herb for spell work or a crystal, at the base of it, again, is all energy. We're connecting with that energy. Karen, that's so true. When I ignore intuition is when I get kicked up the bum. Yep. Experience has taught me that. Maria, witchcraft is a practice, not a religion. Technically, you are absolutely correct, Maria. Witchcraft is a magical practice, and you can be any religion and still work with witchcraft. But I think as a witch, it is my life path, if that's a better term. But yes, definitely. Caroline, working in dreams and meditations, traveling, journeying, connecting with past lives and past witches. Yes, big part of it, but shamanic practice also does that as well. I'm just throwing these out there. I'm just throwing it out there to see where I absolutely agree with you, Caroline. But I think this is my point, is that so many of these things can be attributed to other labels. What is the specific of which? There isn't an answer, I don't think. I just think it's interesting.
Tess, we're always learning. Oh, absolutely.
Never
Over 30
stop.
over 30 years on this particular pathway now, 54 years on the planet, and I am still learning things. Maybe being a witch is being an eternal student. Oh, yeah, I'll go with that. Learning about the spiritual nature, which is in itself ever-changing, yeah, as is witchcraft itself, with many various paths to follow and explore, practicing magical works. So maybe being a lifelong student is what a witch is. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm still learning stuff.
You never stop learning.
You know,
No
you
way.
never stop learning. It'd be a boring life if you knew everything.
You're pretty arrogant of you to think you know.
Well, yeah, there is that too. Yeah, I think it would be really boring if there wasn't anything new to learn about things. And witchcraft, the magical practice of witchcraft changes too. There are more modern practices or ways of practicing that we take on board and that we add to and that we play around with. So yeah, definitely. Sephora, other people called me witchy before I realized I might be. Yeah. Yes, Claire says, just knew a lot of it already. I do think as we learn these things, do we remember it rather than learn it? Are we remembering the craft rather than actually learning about it? Interesting thought. Jane, I think being a witch means living in a world that's a lot bigger and more complex than the one our senses present to us. Interesting. Even we as individuals are more than just our bodies and minds. My body's a lot bigger than it was before Christmas. Everything is somehow connected. I feel sad for people who cut themselves off from all the possibilities or are even afraid of what's out there. They don't know what they're missing. I guess that leads us off into another whole discussion about reincarnation. Do we learn what we need to learn in this life? Do we have a rest in some lives? Do we then come back and learn more? It's a whole, Lizzie would like hot chocolate with soy milk. Yeah, we can do that, Lizzie. That's not a problem. Yesenia, glorious coffee bought by the glorious barista.
Am I glorious twice?
You're a glorious barista. Not barrister,
that?
That's something else. Xenia.
Oh, thanks, Xenia.
I am developing a mental space that needs a lot of concentration, so it would take me decades to master it. It's a Tibetan technique. I use math visualizations. That's a whole other pathway as well. Good morning, Katie. Welcome. Yeah, massage and Reiki treatments are addictive. Not good if the patient is trying to save money for a house. No, I would have a live-in reflexologist if I could afford it. Angela, just like to say, I love your jumper. Yes, Christmas present. It is a Pratchett one. Let's get that right. You can see it. It is a Pratchett one. If I can read it upside down. If you trust in yourself and believe in your dreams and follow your star, you'll still get beaten by people who spend their time working hard and learning things and weren't so lazy. Typical Terry Pratchett quote. Yes, like that one. Karen, think as a witch, we all have different tools in our baskets, some that fit into other beliefs besides witchcraft. I also believe there is no light without dark. Yep. Agree to all of that. It's interesting, isn't it? I often say this, and I said it this morning, actually, to a student. Within the Kitchen Witch School, there are just nearly 60 lessons on different subjects, all kind of under the witchcraft umbrella. Not all of those subjects are going to resonate with you. Not all of those subjects are going to work with you, or you with them. Numerology, for example, makes my head explode. Sacred geometry. But give me herbs or magical food or candle magic and I'm happy as Larry. I wonder who Larry is. Strange saying. He is happy though. Yeah. So you aren't always going to, all of these different things aren't always going to work for you. So it is a different specialities that we all have that can come together to work. But yeah, no, there is no light without dark. You have to walk that. I'm saying you have to. You don't. You can do whatever you want. I think walking that grey between the two, you have to have understanding of light to appreciate the dark, and understanding of dark to appreciate the light. So definitely. Tony, I think being a witch is a combination of what you do and what you believe, which is different for everyone. Just summed it up. That's it. The end. Done. Sorted. Yes, absolutely, Tony. Absolutely. Corrigan, I think if you do spells, you're probably a witch, but perhaps other labels are used. Magician, sorcerer, Strega. It might depend on cultural background. Yes, so if you work with Strega, you are an Italian witch. Magician, sorcerer, perhaps more antiquated words that aren't often used these days, but could be. I say there's no right or wrong. They're all just labels. I do think spell, if you do work spells, then that definitely comes under the witchcraft thing. But again, yeah, it's got to work for you. Caroline, difficult question to answer. Reading Old World Witchcraft by Raven Gramercy, he also talks about this. Where does the witch come from? Well, yeah, and I don't think there is a definitive answer to this. Reading is so beneficial. You become very smart, and most rich people have read a lot of books. Lots of people have read lots of books. I'm not sure about that statement, but I am very sure that reading is beneficial. I think you do learn an awful lot from reading, but also bear in mind that just because it's in a book doesn't make it gospel, for want of a better word. Just because someone has written about it in their book doesn't make it right. It doesn't even make it correct. Sometimes there's a lot of misinformation on the internet, but also on books. So reading definitely expands your knowledge. It's just about checking resources sometimes. Christine, pagan word is the umbrella for all faiths and beliefs that are earth-based. Yes, it is, isn't it? It is such a huge umbrella. It's a kind of catch-all for everything that's not Christian, Muslim, Jewish. Yeah, it is the kind of catch-all for everything else, really, isn't it? Eva, love the message behind the song, Witch. WITCH, woman in total control of herself. Yes, but what about the men? Yes, absolutely. But we have a lot of male witches too. Jane, Scottish name for witchcraft is very appropriate. Craft of the wise. Yes, yeah. I don't feel wise some days. But it is a nice way to describe it, absolutely. Yeah, you shush you. Kerry, I always felt I'm a witch even from a child. I was drawn to all the witchy fairy tales, yep, and folklore. Making up mud potions in the garden, yep. When I first visited the Witchcraft Museum when I was 11, that's when I knew it was me. I think we all have that moment, don't we, when that realization that you've come home and you know exactly where you are.
No one's mentioned that they just want to look like Stevie Nicks.
No, that's, yeah. We all want to look like Stevie Nicks. Well, we all want her wardrobe anyway.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. Janet, I'm not sure where I fit in. Although I use crystals, herbs, collecting rocks, leaves, I also talk to animals and plants. Lastly, watching the sky. I do all of that. And I think it's kind of one of those, you have to be comfortable calling yourself whatever you want. If you want to. You don't need a label. You don't need to call yourself anything. But I do all of that. Yeah. I tend to talk to animals more than I talk to people, really. But Senia, I remember reading that Gerald Gardner claimed it, the word Wicca, for wise, and pronunciation sounded like witchy, so witch was being used. There are lots of different stories about the origins of it. Good morning, Leslie. Lizzie, ultimately, I've been walking an alternative path since I was 15 years old, dipped my toe in many different pathways and finally decided I need to DIY it. Yeah, I think that probably echoes a lots of people's journeys. I spent 6 years in my late teens going to church every Sunday. I was a dedicated Baptist. I think I was looking for a faith of some sort. And that was the most obvious one at the time, really. I did that for 6 years. And I have dipped my toe into all different sorts of pathways, starting with Wicca, because it was the only information available to me at the time, pre-internet. But I have, been on Shield Maiden courses and I've been on Druidry courses and dipped into all sorts of other things. But ultimately, I have picked and mixed to make my pathway my own. And I actually think that's what's really nice about witchcraft, being a witch. You can make it your own pathway. It can be tailored. Lizzie, I'm spiritual, use divination, herbs. I'm a Reiki master teacher and avid amateur gardener. Yep, I claim all of those too, Lizzie. You and me both. Louise, yes, looking more deeply than the surface, which is a skill that we have, definitely. Emma, some days feel like a witch, other days I don't feel good enough to be called one. I think we all have those wobbles, Emma. You're not alone there. I think a lot of the time it's just getting into the right mental state for me. Yeah, we do all have those wobbles. We really do. Do you people astral travel? You people? Yes, we do. Hi, Haley. Jenny, I think our paths are personal, so whatever we do, if we claim the title witch, is what makes us a witch. For me, it's about living cyclically. You just wanted me to say that word, didn't you? Cyclically. Cyclically. It sounds like a foreign word. And
say it again, go on.
No, and connecting with and using energy. Yes, absolutely. It is a very personal journey. And an energy. I do think energy is quite a big part of it in whatever way that you work with it or connect with it. Yeah, absolutely. Lizzie, also it's wassailing day plus full moon, so attend tonight for future bounty. Busy day today. Scroll. Kerry, I see witchcraft as a lifelong practice. I started seriously learning when I was 16, and at 45, I'm still learning. Yep. At 54, I'm still learning. Over 30 years later, I wouldn't have it any other way. So, yes, barrister. No, Pete isn't a barrister. he's a barista. Christine says she doesn't need a drink. She's already got one. She got dehydrated waiting for you to make.
Yeah. It's all noise. It's very harmless.
Louise, Louise, a reflexology is, well, it was a total lifesaver for me. It was the turning point for me, having suffered with ulcerative colitis and proctitis for many years. So I had a bowel disease from the age of 16. When I was in my early 20s, I found reflexology, mid-20s, found reflexology, and it was a turning point for me. So I'm ever thankful for reflexology, and I love it. Jane, does it make you feel awkward if someone stops to read all of your sweatshirt? This is the first time I've worn it, Jane, so I'll let you know if anybody stops me. Is that from Wintersmith? It sounds like a granny quote. I think it probably is a granny quote, but I don't know, actually, Maria. Leslie, as a child around 5 years old, I remember going through some trauma and finding solace sitting under the trees at the end of the road. I just felt safe around trees and nature. Didn't know anything about witchcraft, but I knew I felt different, and I knew there was something magical around me. Yeah, I think perhaps all of us that are on this path now knew from an early age that magic was there in nature. Yeah, we picked up on stuff, I think. Colin, magician these days seems to be associated with the entertainment. Yes, the term magician seems to be used quite a lot for stage magic, doesn't it? Hi, Jason. Maria, I have so many to read books. Oh, me too. Me too. Jane, I was happy and comfortable being a Catholic witch till one nasty priest took it personally and proceeded to demolish me. Can't be doing with all that patriarchal testosterone fueled dogma now. So I put pagan on the census form and drew a line under the church. I have a few friends that are Christian witches. And I think as well, there are a lot of Catholic practices that do reflect paganism. I'm thinking just the practical stuff really as well, the incense and all that. It's a shame. I have also met several priests that are very accepting of it all. In fact, as a Druid group, the Dorset Grove, we did a ritual in a church in Dorchester, in a church hall, which was interesting to do as well. It's a shame. It's a shame, isn't it? Oh, hello, happy as Larry. Thank you. The meaning of happy as Larry. To with the boxer. Okay. Thank you for that. Karen, that's exactly how I felt. The trees always felt safe. Yeah. Diane, reading expands your knowledge. Practice increases your understanding. Oh, absolutely. Nailed that, Diane. Absolutely. There was a period early on in all of my training, learning, when I actually stopped and realized that I'd read an awful lot of books, but hadn't actually put much of it into practice. It was a bit of a light bulb moment for me. And I find I retain more when I've actually worked with it rather than just reading it. Do have a bit of a brain like a sieve. Emma, when I was at school, they had a book describing a poppet, and I knew immediately how to make one without thinking. That's when I knew that witchcraft was my way. Remembering. I think we do a lot of remembering. Jenny, witchcraft is mostly free of dogma, but not always free of gatekeepers. Oh, yes, how right you are. Especially as well and with the internet, where people can be brave behind the screen. Jane, the more time we spend in contact with our witchy tribe, the less likely we are to feel any twinges of imposter syndrome. Interesting. That is interesting. When I first started, I thought I was the only pagan witch in my area because we were pre-internet, so I didn't know all of these groups existed. Yeah, it is a bit of a relief as well, isn't it, to find like-minded people and know that you're not completely loony. Xenia, as for today, did someone already mention that it's Befana Day today? No, it wasn't mentioned, but yeah, she's flying about on a broomstick. In Italy, the witch Befana brings Christmas presents and lumps of coal today. So which one will you be receiving? Yes. Karen, spells seem to be the thing that only belongs to witchcraft. So maybe we should ask, what is a spell? Interesting question. I think you're right. As far as I'm aware, spells belong with witchcraft. I mean, obviously, they date back a very, 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 very long time. The Psalms were used originally by sorcerers to work magic. But I would say yes. If you work with spells, that does definitely come under witchcraft. What is a spell? Another big question. I would say manipulating magic. I don't know. What does everybody think? Manipulating magic would manipulate. Oh dear! Manipulating energy to make something happen, to make changes, to make transformations, to make something happen. Clearly, I need more coffee today. Larry Grayson. Gosh, that's going back a bit. Corrigan. Maybe there's a remembering. My brother and I both came to witchcraft without knowing each other had. I found out when I read his name in a book on witchcraft by Australian witch Fiona Horn. I definitely think there is a remembering. Yeah, absolutely.
Jane, I found magic when I was 5. We were staying on a farm in Cornwall, which is a very magical place. There was just so much magic about the place. It stayed with me till I came home in my 40s, and I took the name of the farm, Treadup, as my witch name. Cornwall is an incredible magical place, incredibly magical. Christine, when my bro died, he was friendly with the local vicar. I had to go speak to him about the funeral, and I told him that his congregation were a bunch of hypocrites and warned him to watch his butt. He was reported to the local bishop because he played guitar in church. What a sin. Hope he remembered my words to him, but I walked into the church and kind of twitched, waiting for the bolt of lightning. Yeah, to be turned into a pile of ashes. When I was Christian for that period of time, I went to a Baptist church, so we always had guitars in the church. We always had a band playing and singing. That's a fun one. Janet, I feel in tune with Earth because I hear it hum all the time. Many years ago, I thought it was the furnace when I realised it sounded much different. Do we perhaps hear, see, feel different things that are outside of the usual realm? Could be one of the things that makes us different. Yes, Bafana, we'd all like coal, please. Gas and electricity, please. Yes. Bill's ridiculous. Anyway, Angela, I seem to have come full circle. As a child, I was a nature spirit, loving my lotions, potions, and spells. Went through a lost period, not knowing what I was, and explored many paths, including Wicca. I think we do. I mean, in my 30-odd years, there have been times when I've fallen off of the witchcraft wagon and been a bit lost. It does happen. Caroline, some druids incorporate spells into their work. I don't think it's a general practice. I've always kind of thought that the main difference between druids and witches is that witches work spells and druids don't. Having said that, I do know druids that work spells, so there isn't a kind of definitive, I don't think. Jane, isn't spell a corruption of spiel, some sort of written or spoken process? I don't know, Jane. It's an interesting thought. Because spells, you have spells, charms. Charms is a spoken one as well, isn't it? Interesting. I don't know. We'll have to look into that one, Jane. Sephora, manipulating energy with intent. Yes, which is a spell, isn't it? That's how I see it. Because community is such an important part of identity. This group has certainly made me feel comfortable with being a witch. Even if you are largely solitary, feeling part of a tribe helps to learn, feel safe, and develop your ideas. Bless you. Yeah, I think it is. And I perhaps, with an online community in particular, you can dip in and out when you want to. So you can still do your solitary thing. But if you need to ask a question or if you need that support, you can dip in and find it. Xenia. Nowadays, people would prefer coal, yeah, with the cost of gas and electric, definitely. Angela, none of it felt right, and I have come back to my intuitive, herbal, earth, nature, moon-based practice and my lotions, potions, and spells. Yes, we do, you know. Caroline, personally, I feel the energy is different between druidry and witchcraft. It is, it's a different pathway. I have studied both. I did the first year of OBOD with druidry. It is a different pathway. Yeah, definitely. But there are an awful lot of similarities a lot of the time. But again, with druidry, you don't need to have that pagan religion. You don't need to have a religion. It is a nature-based pathway, definitely. Again, depends on the person as well. Leslie, I feel a spell is a petition, kind of likened to a prayer. Absolutely. Well, we write petition papers when we work with spells. It is absolutely a spell. We're asking for something, aren't we? Maria, everyone performs spells as soon as they open their mouths, even with their thoughts. Oh, thought forms. Yeah, be careful what you wish for. Colin, I looked into a few religions, and when I found paganism seemed to be a homecoming for me. Yes, absolutely. Corrigan, don't hoodoo and voodoo practitioners use spells? Again, there's a bit of confusion here. Hoodoo is a magical practice. Voodoo is a religion. So they are two different things. But in hoodoo, you work fixes. You basically spells. You work fixes and curses. There's no rule of three or any karma type thing in hoodoo. But hoodoo is a magical practice and voodoo is the religion. So they are two different things. But they do, yeah. A root worker will work with spells, but they call them fixes. But yes, so does that? Yeah, that covers witch as well, doesn't it? Yeah, there is no right or wrong answer here, I don't think. No right or wrong answer. Emma, definitely feeling witchy now. Freya's cauldron boxes are right. Oh, that means mine's on the way too. Sephora, I can remember as a kid spending hours trying to get my nose to twitch. Bewitched. Jane, I felt lost for a long time after that dreadful priest chewed me up and spat me out, understandably. Then I felt the call back to the craft even more strongly than before. It took a long time to find my feet since everything had changed and progressed big time with the internet and the growing witch community in the UK, not to mention the vast array of books available. It felt like a minefield for a while, but after a couple of years, it all settled into a way of life. I think that kind of, it changes. Witchcraft has changed in the years that I've worked with it. New ideas come up. There's so much more information available now and easily available. When I started, it was scrabbling about in dark, really. So, yeah, there's a huge amount of information out there, but not always the right information too. So it is a little bit of a minefield in picking through it all. Sephora showing her age, Sabrina and Bewitched. Christine, I also tried to be a good witch, but it just wasn't me. So I thought, sod it, and now I'm definitely a grey witch. Yeah, I think it has to be right for you, but I think you can't be all good. You can't be all bad. You need that kind of middle ground, definitely. You are quite correct, Maria. You can only be yourself. But I also think this journey has taken me on a personal journey of transition and development. Definitely not the same person that I was 30 years ago. But I don't think we change anyway with age, don't we? But following the path of a witch, following my pagan pathway has definitely made me a better person. It's definitely given me a different way of thinking of things and dealing with things as well, a different aspect or outlook on life, that's for sure. Jane, I'm a chewing gum white witch. But I think you have an understanding of the other world. You have an understanding of the darker side of things. If you have that knowledge and that understanding there, then that's all you need. You don't need to. I don't work curses. I write about cursing and hexing because I think knowledge gives you power. But I don't work with them. I have done bindings on occasion when I have felt the need to protect myself or my children. But I think it is about having that understanding that nothing is ever completely black or completely white, completely good, completely bad. We're human beings. Walking that line between the two gives you an understanding and appreciation of both sides, I think. Maria's going to read the hoodoo book today.
Your hoodoo book, is that?
Yeah. Hoodoo as a magical practice is really just folk magic. Although it is worked by root workers, it has a huge European influence on it. And it reflects an awful lot of European folk magic. So it is folk magic, which a lot of witches work without even thinking about it. Trudy, I think that it's a personal path mostly in this modern world, but the common factor amongst witches that bring us together is the thirst for knowledge for the old ways. Yep, absolutely.
Caroline did 2 years learning wizardry with Ken Collinson. That was different again. There are so many different pathways. It is huge. It's like a map with all these different avenues and different journeys, and different people that teach will bring a different energy to it. You will bring a different energy to it. Within Kitchen Witch, there are 4 of us that run it. We all bring our different energies to it and our different skill sets. We've got a huge community of students. Every single one of those students will bring a different energy to each lesson, and come at it from their own way. So even within one particular pathway, there will be lots of different ways of working with it, and each person will bring their own energy to it. Jane, we need to know about the dark side so we can see it coming and deal with it. Absolutely. Knowledge is power. Christine, my freezer is getting full of bindings. To have a special freezer just for them.
Gotta go for dead bodies.
Not technically.
Oh, right.
Maria, I had to defrost one the other day, so there wasn't enough room for stuff. Emma, being a pagan witch has made me feel like a better person. I'm a grey witch. I think I always have been. I was invited to join a white witch community, but just didn't feel right for me. It has to feel right. You have to feel comfortable with it, absolutely. It is, but about, admitting it as well to the world, to family, to friends. How do you approach telling them? That's an interesting one as well. Heather, reading is great to get ideas and learn, but I need to do the practice to make it a reality. Absolutely. You are very wise. That's why you're on the Kitchen Witch team. We have good people. And Heather's not frightened to tell me off either.
She's brave.
Diane, I'm much more comfortable now with my darker side. I've embraced it as part of who I am as a whole person. That's been part of my witchcraft journey as well, is working with my shadow side, understanding it, recognizing it, and how to deal with it, definitely. Xenia, I hope you labelled them. You don't want to defrost the wrong people. Jane, if our freezers are getting cluttered with transgressors, perhaps we should find a way of incorporating spells into things we can eat. And then those people will end up being treated accordingly at the local sewage works. That's witch thinking. That's absolutely witch thinking. Emma, I cried and apologized to my family for being a witch when said they knew, and it was fine. I cried more. Oh, bless. Because telling people that you're a witch can be tricky. I got a whole bunch of Facebook unfriends last month when I launched my book. Yeah, and bounced out of the broom closet. I'll put it up there. Let me just get a quick... It's up here. For anybody that wants to have a look, this is Coz's new book. Witch Business, Coz's new book. Yes, you will. You'll find it's a bit like when you have children. You'll find that all of the people that don't have children or don't want children unfriend you too. It's one of those things. Lizzie, I've always felt an affinity to the evil witches of fairy tales and Disney. Now I know why. Yeah. Solidarity with them. Maria, I only had 2 left, so knew who they were. Tore up the paper and flushed it down the toilet. And good riddance to them too. Christine, we need to have balance of dark and light or we feel unbalanced. Absolutely, absolutely. No children, just dogs. Yeah, cause I'm with you on that one. So, it is an interesting question. I don't believe there's any definitive answer. I think just be who you are. If you want a label, call yourself whatever you like. If you want to call yourself the Most High Majesty of Eric Sausage Dog, then you can.
I think it's entirely up to you. You have to be comfortable with it. You do have to be comfortable with it. And I don't think there's any right or wrong answer to the question. If you feel that you're a witch, you're a witch. That's just how it is, really. Claire says using your cauldron can be a sign for family. It's a bit of a giveaway. Xenia, gladly in my work environment, there's no bullying against witches, so I'm open with it because I wear witchy jewelry and I can recognise the right or wrong people faster. The wrong friends usually can't refrain from expressing their opinions. Makes life much easier, so I don't waste my precious time with the wrong people. Absolutely. Eric is here. Hello. You've got to go and have a bath now. You're going to come over here. Come in, then. It is bath time for Eric today. Hello. You're going to come and say hello to people before we finish. Come on, there he is. There he is. Eric's bath. He's got to go and have a bath. Because you're a little bit whiffy. Yes, you are. We have coming up an open in bulk ritual, 29th of January.
Yep, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. on the Kitchen Witch. On the Kitchen Witch Facebook group and the Kitchen Witch YouTube channel. I have 3 courses, online courses, running via the College of Psychic Studies this spring into summer. So do have a look. Introduction of Witchcraft is the first course. He is a sweet, smelly boy, Maria. He is a little bit whiffy. Or as our daughter says, he smells of sunshine and rainbows. He smells of dog. Thank you for joining me. If you have any thoughts on what you'd like me to talk about, do let me know. Yes, you've got to have a bath.
Not impressed, Mum.
But be yourself. Be proud. Be loud. Be witchy. Be whatever you want to be. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Do have a fantastic weekend, and I will catch up with you all next week.